What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live Pendergast podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a special one for tonight, and it's an absolute honor to sit down with Joe Karvonen. I hope I didn't murder that. I got it right. Yes, let's go. I finally got one right, right? Anyway, Joe, man, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad to have a chance to finally sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, me too, man. It was funny because I was meaning to reach out to you anyway before you reached out to me, and I'm a firm believer everything happens when it's meant to happen, if that makes sense. So, but my friend, me and you absolutely have a lot to talk about, right? So, as I start off all podcasts, Joe, where did it all start with you on two wheels?
Oh yeah, I mean, like so many, it's a little stereotypical. I was lived in the country as a kid, grew up on dirt bikes. Rode dirt bikes, raced dirt bikes, just a very stereotypical growing up on two wheels kind of household. Had the fortunate reality of at a younger age of having good mentors and good people around me, especially on the technical side, and really gravitated towards the technical side more as a young kid and sort of evolved from there. So but been riding a motorcycle since eight. No, younger than that, like 6, 7 years old, and been not riding as much anymore. You know how life gets, you get busy. So, but yeah, no, it's been a lifelong thing.
Yeah, sure. To us, it's a lifestyle, right? Like we couldn't imagine life without 100%. Motorcycles. Yeah, and it all originates, from the dad or the grandpa. Some people are fortunate where their grandmas or their moms actually okay with it. My mom was absolutely not okay with it. My dad was absolutely okay with it. So you have that, right? But yeah, it's funny, Joe, that when you fall in love with something at a young age, you don't realize how deeply in love you are with it until you get older, right? Or as I call getting younger in life. And then you sit back one day and you realize you're like, holy shit, where would I be without these two wheels?
100%. Yeah, no, it's I often tell people what I do for a living and whatnot. And I jokingly say, like, I don't know how to have a real job. Like, this is the job that I have, and what we do here is definitely the thing that the 5-year-old writes on their, kindergarten, what I want to grow up and do in the future. Like, we have that job 100%. And I'm grateful for that. Not saying it's not a job some days, though. Holy cow. But I am glad to say that, it wasn't what I wrote down when I was a kid. I was like kind of a car kid initially, even though I rode bikes. I always thought it was going to be car stuff, but it wasn't a very big deviation between what I wrote down and what I turned into. So I can say that I kind of grew up to live my dreams. So, but yeah, I do appreciate that. Obviously, I've had the opportunities to make it here where I'm at today. So.
Absolutely, and what a beautiful journey you've been on so far. Absolutely. One question I have, did you start Sisu Motorsports before the whole Kramer thing, or was that after?
Yeah. So as many people may or may not know, I guess, Kramer Motorcycles USA is a subsidiary of CSFAB LLC. So if you ever see that weird name on an invoice from us, that's why. Our parent company that we started back in 2013, 2014, whatever it was originally started for motorcycle service and motorcycle performance related stuff. And a lot of metal fabrication. That's where that fab word comes from in there. And then as time marched on, as Kramer, which is its own little separate conversation, but as that grew within the industry here, it's definitely pulled a lot of our attention that way. But we still have CC Motorsports, which is the entity that runs our service department and our sales for non-Kramer related services and parts and bikes. And that's the office I sit in day to day here. If you walk in the front door, it's going to feel a little bit more like a regular dealership and a little less like a manufacturer. But we operate in this building from a day-to-day standpoint, and we have a warehouse with all the other stuff too. But this is our if you're going to come find us, this is usually where we're at. So
this is where Joe hides people. Right?
Yeah, exactly. This is right here. Not hard. So
I love it, man. So obviously, the question is Kramer. It's all I hear about. Kramer, man. So tell your journey, tell your story, how this whole Kramer thing came about, how the whole talent cup with MotoAmerica, how that, how everything went down.
Yeah, I mean, we could settle in for a really long walk on that one, but I'll try and give the semi-abridged version to a certain extent. In 2014, 2013, Marcus Kramer in Germany started, along with three of his friends, this small little idea of a motorcycle company. Started originally with the what they called the Evo, which was this a 690 Duke that was highly modified to be a road race bike. When I say highly modified, I mean they cut the backbone off the thing, they repositioned neck, they really built a custom bike out of it. Quickly found out that the swing arm geometry still wasn't optimized, linkage was wrong, all this stuff. So that got set aside and started working on what became the Evo 2 as we know it today, which is our 690 base platform bike. Myself, in being in the motorcycle industry in the United States, had a few customers that were looking to transition to a different motorcycle, and we had caught wind of this little motorcycle company in Germany doing this thing, and I had worked with Marcus and a local customer here, along with a customer in Minnesota, in the same calendar year, got two of the very first motorcycles that came out of Kramer HQ, VIN number 5 and VIN number 7. And those were here in our shop. And so we found a lot of the rough edges right away. There was a lot of stuff on the bike that needed some development, frankly. It was a new platform, new company, new everything. And Marcus Kramer came from KTM. He was in the power parts R&D sides of things, so had a lot of experience with the performance side of KTM through the power parts program stuff, and then being just generally in R&D, obviously in with the motorcycle development side. So all the puzzle pieces were there. It was just making them all fit together. And so we worked early on with Marcus, not as Kramer Motorcycles USA, but just as a sort of a customer, if you will. With that small of a company, your customers become your R&D partners real fast. And so we started to grow the develop platform here in the United States. By 2016, bike had already made a ton of improvements, and we started as Kramer Motorcycles USA in 2016, and imported the first handful of bikes. And what was kind of the jumping off point for us, where it went from, oh, this is be a 1 or 2 motorcycles here and there type situation to like, hey, we're going to try and actually do something. Was I was on social media, I was on Instagram as Kramer Motorcycles USA, and I saw Ari Henning from, at the time, Motorcyclist magazine, had posted something. I don't remember exactly the context of the post, but it said something like this hashtag almost famous. And I replied as like, well, you're not famous because you haven't rode a Kramer, just as like kind of a snarky little reply. And he's like, well, get us one. And I'm like, all right. And so I grabbed one of the 4 bikes that we had imported, and I threw it on a friend's transporter that was heading west, and I sent him out this motorcycle to race. And they actually ended up racing it at an ARMA event. Zach Kortz ended up riding it and racing it at an ARMA event while they were still with motorcyclists. And to say that was sort of like a way bigger jumping off point than I ever would have expected would be an understatement. And so that was kind of where the lightning bolt moment was, when the next month or 2 later, Flip Open Motorcyclist magazine and Kramer Motorcycles was the centerfold for that. And it was just like, wow, that went like from here to here real fast. And this was all within months, mind you. And so I was like, oh crap, we actually might have to do something with this. And we, again, Marcus and I have worked really closely at that point, and we both kind of had this little like, oh, we got to get moving here. And Marcus was having plenty of success with the first generation Evos with IDM in Germany. At that point, they had the Supermodel Cup at the time. Kramer went on to dominate Supermodel Cup, which was great as a jumping off point. And then as time marched on, 2017, 18 flew by, more and more bikes came. We sold more and more. We started growing our consumer base quite quickly. And you know, it really has been on a pretty strong trajectory upward. We focused heavily on the 690 family initially. Obviously, that was our first motorcycle, our first product. We then moved on to developing the 890, as people know it, or the GP2 family of bikes that we refer to them as. And that's been a bike that's been very fun to develop and challenging in its own right. Obviously, your step from a 70, 80 horsepower bike to 120 horsepower motorcycle, it changes a lot of dynamics. And That bike has moved on to be quite successful. We've raced in BSB, we've raced at IDMs events, we've done a bunch of stuff with it. It's raced a ton of club stuff here. And probably what it's known most for is actually not being the bike we built, but the bike we built for KTM, which is the RC8C. And so that partnership grew a lot with our partner KTM. And how we get to today here with the Talent Cup is really, a little bit of right place at right time. And so early on, MotoAmerica was looking around to do something with the starting, the replacement for the Junior Cup, but really something that was going to try and make it that stepping stone that they've been set out to do with Dorna and the Road to MotoGP program. And they had worked with other OEMs. I've been fully transparent. Kramer Motorcycles was not the first pick for MotoAmerica, and we were fully aware of that. And so we went ahead and worked with them after a few of the other OEMs had decided they didn't want to be involved. The most common one that comes up a lot, that one wasn't an option, unfortunately. And KTM was interested at the time, but they had other irons in the fire at the time, and they had bowed out. Because of that, we had caught wind of that with our partnership with KTM. KTM said, "Hey, these guys are already kind of working on something." And at the time, we were working on what is now called the APX family, or Apex as we refer to it. And originally, it was built around a 450. We were going to build it as a 450. And MotoAmerica had done some testing with KTM, decided they liked the performance factor of the 350 better than the 450. So we kind of shifted gears and put together a proposal for 350 for MotoAmerica, and they said, "Yeah, let's see what's possible." And so that's where the marathon started, if you will, for the 350 as we know it today. And from the date of delivery, going back in time, it was about 18 months from production to delivery, or inception, if you will, I guess, in some ways. We had already done a lot of design work on the bike, but with shifting gears to the 350 drivetrain from the 450 drivetrain, it did require quite a few changes. And one of the other big requirements for MotoAmerica was the rules-controlled solo engineering ECU and dash, or MK7 ECU, as it may be referred to as. And so they're brought ride-by-wire and auto blip and quick shift to the table. We're familiar with all that stuff because our GP2 is already using that same hardware, so very familiar with that and with Medtronic as a company. So that was all fine, but it's a heavy lift to make happen in the timeline we did. And so we shifted the gears and put a bunch of time in and a bunch of effort globally with tons of great people and got the bike done and delivered. It was a lot of work, and we can have a whole talk about all the details of that, because we could be here for hours. It's probably going to be the thing that took the most amount of life off my time on this earth, to be honest. But it was a thing that I enjoyed every minute of it at the end of the day. So that's a very long but abridged story of how we're at where we're at.
I love it. So obviously I definitely want to get more deep in the whole, Talent Cup thing. Did you guys have your own personal testers out here to test the bikes here in America, or was that done overseas?
Both, actually. So we really took kind of a spirited approach on it. Given the timeline, we wanted to do testing on both fronts. So we had one of our internal employees doing a lot of the testing, being that he was helping with the design work. Having him get on the bike was helpful, just because if you're working on making the part for it and you're the guy testing it, at least you can run through a lot of the development stuff quickly. Then we worked here in the United States, and we had a few different riders on the bikes here in the United States. At the time, we were having to be kind of careful that we couldn't bring existing Junior Cup riders in to do testing for us. There's a little bit of an issue there of conflict of interest and biases and all of those things that we were trying to avoid, which proved to be difficult because it's hard to find, light riders that are fast. And we also know that putting a 200-pound guy on it isn't obviously going to help us from a chassis development standpoint. So we had to work a bit to find riders that stayed, below 160 pounds to make sure we stayed closer to the windows of operations. But we had some some riders are on the 120-pound bike, or on the bike, excuse me, during development here in the U.S. and in Europe. It helped us work on a lot of that chassis rigidity and chassis information. So the development does take place, and this is true to most projects, is done it on both fronts, whether it's Apex or any one of our other bikes.
Yeah, for sure. And I couldn't imagine the project that took place with Kramer to build all these bikes for, because last year, first season, there was, when it started, there was how many, 18 riders on the grid?
A little bit less than that. I think it was somewhere in that territory initially. Maybe you might be right on that. And I think so far this year we're sitting around 14. But I think that number will grow a little bit here after round of 2. So
yeah. So the whole idea, obviously, behind the Kramer Apex 350 is all the adjustability too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to bring to it was some of the stuff from our GP2 family of bikes was all of our bikes are fitted with adjustable offset clamps. There's 2 settings to the clamps. We work with a company called Grubner, which is the owner of Xtrig. So if you've seen dirt bike clamps, say Xtrig on them, that's that company, and they're essentially right down the road from us in Europe, and they specialize in precision machining, and so we work with them from a triple clamp supplier, but we co-opted with them early on for 2 setting triple clamps, both on the Evo 2 and GP2. So we brought that technology into the Apex, but then we also paired it up with our adjustable rake angle. So all the bikes are fitted with adjustable rake along with adjustable offset. Adjustable rake is plus or minus half a degree or plus or minus 1 degree. And then we have an offset setting for 24 or 26 millimeters of offset. So that gives you a lot of movement in the front end when it comes to where you want to put it. Of course, then you have standard ride height with just fork protrusion or spring rate. In the rear, we call it our flip chip system. Essentially, our shock length is fixed. We do that to help keep our suspension geometry correct, so we don't change the input starting point of our bell crank. We keep that relatively similar, and then where our mounting point is for our pull rod triangles for our suspension link, those have adjustable mounting points. So we can take the bolts out and change the inserts or flip the inserts around and get 6 millimeters of total adjustment range on those pull rods, which is quite drastic. It works out to be, depends on where our front geometry and stuff is, as little as 85 millimeters of ground trail all the way to like 108 millimeters of ground trail. So we can make this bike you can make this thing many different motorcycles if you really want to. The difficulty, and this is one of the things we've learned, and I'll be honest, this is one of the things that, you don't think about. You think about like, hey, it's super adjustable. But people also have to know why they're making changes and what that's going to do. And so that's proven to be one of the things that's more difficult for us, is now educating the teams and the customers and the riders that when you make some of these changes, it's going to change a lot of the dynamics of the motorcycle. And that's something that I think riders just haven't learned at this point, which is understandable, that they just haven't experienced the nuance of some of these changes and how much that can change things. And one of the disadvantages to the MotoAmerica series is that you don't have a lot of track time. So if you show up to a track and you haven't been there before and you choose a setting, you get free practice 1. And if that doesn't work, well, you got to make the change, and it doesn't work in qualifying. Like, well, maybe you went the right direction, maybe you went the wrong direction. But because we give you such a big direction to work within, that can create its own problems. We saw that. So we're trying to put up guardrails more a little bit, and educate teams on what these suspension and geometry changes will do. And if they are on one kind of end of the spectrum or the other, not saying it's necessarily wrong for that rider, but have them understand why they got there, or help them understand why they're there. Maybe it's a rider ergonomics situation where some of the really tall riders that are really heavier, we saw them run a lot slacker geometry, running a lot more ground trail because they have the leverage to pull the bike around. So they don't care. They'll make the thing super stable and just yank it around and not care. Take Cody Kopp from last season an example.
What I was thinking when you said that, Cody Kopp.
Yeah, his bike was super slack. Like he all the trail. The thing when you didn't need to worry about a head shake on that setup. But it worked for him because he could just grab a hold of the thing, throw it on its side, and it didn't matter. Where we had some other riders, not that Hank Vosberg was a small guy or anything like that, but he ran it fairly on the nose, and it probably ran like 92 to 94 mile ground trail. So again, very relative. And this is where we wanted to give that opportunity to the teams to have that. But again, there's some teams that have a fair amount of knowledge and experience, and there's other teams that don't. And we're doing our darndest, if you will, to try and make sure that we're out there trying to educate the teams on what these adjustments actually do.
Oh, I'm sure your phone rings off the hook. Hey, man, I did this and this and this and this. Oh,
Yeah,
what's it supposed to do?
Just today, man, I'll tell you what, like it's you're not even on track, and it's these are the conversations I'm having. So, which is again double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah, 110%. So, are you gonna have like a little handbook of the pros and cons if you do this and you do that? And
yeah, we're working on a geometry matrix, as we would refer to it. We were just working on it here. And not necessarily give them absolute numbers. That's where a product like MotoSpec, if you're familiar with that, from a geometry tool, software is useful. Our bike is in MotoSpec. We actually worked with MotoSpec directly to make sure that the data that MotoSpec had was accurate. We actually gave them our factory data and our factory drawings for that information. So what is in MotoSpec is within 2 millimeters of reality. We validated all of it with them. To try and make sure that's accurate, and we also working with the center of gravity also to make sure that data was as representative as possible. That's great, but we are also trying to make a more distilled version of that because a lot of people don't have access to MotoSpec because it is a subscription. So we're trying to give them a data sheet here in the nearish future, hopefully, that is more explaining the deltas. So if you do a flip chip setting, you do a rake change. This is the difference in a data point, if you will, whether it's swing arm angle or rake angle or ground trail projections, things like that. So those are some stuff that in the coming, I would say month or two, I want to have live on our website too. So it's something we are adding for public is there will be a support tab on our website that's going to host some more of this information that, full disclosure, we haven't done the best at getting to the general public. A lot of the teams have this information, but it seems a little light to the general public. But the fact that we are personally trackside with the teams, it kind of doesn't really matter as much, but we are working on making that publicly available too. So
absolutely. I can see where somebody would get lost in the sauce, right? If they never, experienced anything, like, well, let's just try this, and then it's one of those things you get lost. So all the help,
100%.
definitely. I would be one of those guys calling you up all the time, Joe. I'd be like, look, man, this is what I did, blah, blah. You're like, Simcoe, stop calling me. I'll call you back.
Yeah. I tell people, like, don't send me a text message because I'm terrible about text messaging, but call me. I will always answer if I can. If I don't, I'll call you back, and it doesn't matter who it is. But I'm always available. And then, the other thing with the bikes too is which is a whole separate conversation, is electronics, because we did push a fairly advanced electronics package at the bike that leads to a lot of technical questions too.
Yeah. 100%. That's something I wanted to I was getting ready to talk to you about, was the whole, everybody talks about the price point of the Talent Cup bike, right? You've heard all the ins and outs of it, and so just clarify on why it costs what it costs and all the electronics. Cause you told me before, and I was like, I mean, that's absolutely proper mega, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, so to put in perspective, about the bike specifically, the ECU we're running and the dash we're running is essentially the same hardware you're going to see on a next generation bike with Mectronic or Solo engineering system. So if anybody has experience with that, you're talking $5,000 to $10,000 electronics packages is essentially what this bike has on it. Relative, take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, every bike is different, but it is at a minimum a $5,000 package. The Reason for that is to help prepare teams to have a general understanding of just not only Medtronic specifically. I think people can get bogged down in the brand specificity and all that stuff. That's not my goal, or not anybody's goal, is to understand things like adjustable engine braking, not through just an up and down arrow on their dash, but actually getting in there and building tables in their ECU for engine braking and getting in there and playing around with stuff. We do have limits set in the ECU. It's not a full open. It is a rules controlled ECU, so it does have some limits, but it is actually fairly open. If you get into it, you can do your own engine braking table. You can do your own throttle tables. There's fuel adjustment range that's allowable. There is stuff you can do. It pretty much gives you all the boxes you can check. You just can't go out certain parameters. And so that was the kind of the idea behind bringing this level of electronics to it. The other part was to bring in auto blip, because in this family of motorcycles, we were originally shooting for a cable operated throttle and that kind of base 450 kind of configuration we'd see carried over from like SMR or FS 450 Supermoto platforms. But having auto blip with an electronic throttle, of course, and quick shift as standard is a really nice thing to have, because as we move forward into whether it's twin scup or whether it's into next gen, you're going to have those features as standard on bikes now. So that was the why. Now, of course, anytime you add stuff to a motorcycle, it gets more expensive. Our goal from day one with this bike was, how do we build a good motorcycle, a competitive motorcycle in its space, meet all the technical requirements with geometry and adjustability and electronics and all that stuff, and not spend $1 bazillion. That's a hard thing to do. I think we did medium okay at it. I was going to be somebody screaming at the screen right now at me, and it's fair. Our original price point for the bike was $22,495. That was what we sold every single Town Cup bike for last year. Obviously, everybody in the public knows, if you live in the world, and especially if you live in the United States, the last year a lot of things have changed when it comes to international trade and just pricing in general. It doesn't even matter if it's international trade or not. Even the stuff we build here in the United States has gotten more expensive because of increase in material costs. Unfortunately, the EU tariffs that were applied did increase the price of the bike. Initially, it was about a $2,200 price increase. It was a lot, but it was palatable. It sucked. It still sucks. Where it got to be difficult is the steel tariffs do apply to this motorcycle, because when the steel tariffs were enacted, they were at 25%. They got moved to 50%. And then the current administration decided to apply them to steel derivatives, which just means if it's under this class of products, which there was like 420 some products, HTS codes as they're referred to, it was going to have the steel derivative tariff applied. Well, that's where it gets painful, because it's a 50% tariff on anything made of steel. And if you've ever worked on a bike, there's quite a bit of steel in it. And so we have to submit to Customs and Borders the percentage of our product that is steel by weight. And the percentage of that by weight is the percentage of the wholesale cost that's tariffed at 50%. So you can start backing it out pretty quickly and realize that this all adds up real fast. Unfortunately, now today, we do carry an over $5,000 tariff charge on these motorcycles. And I have been working diligently with everybody I can get to listen that has any authority, whether it's our representatives, our congresspeople, whoever I can talk to, and trying to take the most appropriate angle on this to help gain a waiver. But I have been unfortunately unsuccessful at that. Because of that, the bike price now has increased. And instead of being the $22,495 we set out for, we ended up at $28,995. I don't like it. I hate every bit of it. It makes my job harder. It goes against what we set out to do, and what our inception for this motorcycle was. And I hope that more reasonable minds will prevail in the future to see that a kid's race bike maybe shouldn't have this kind of fees applied to it. So, but what we can give up on the price point of the bike, we're trying really hard to give back to the teams in customer support and trackside support. So that's where I hope some people who are involved in the Talent Cup see the value, is that we have a truck at every single round, and that is the plan moving forward at this point, barring any major changes, is that we will have representation at every round with spare parts on hand, and technical support and willingness to spin wrenches if we have to make sure that everybody gets out on track. And I think anybody that was in the Talent Cup last year will say that we did as much as we probably could, if not maybe more, to make sure everybody was out there. So yeah, the future will, who knows? Our goal is to keep trying to drive that price point down, though. So as 100%. Much as it's like we're not.
This whole path to MotoGP, was that MotoAmerica's idea? Was that the goal behind the new class coming in, or was that a collective of you and them?
This was something that was set out by MotoAmerica. Wayne Rainey has said for quite some time that his mission a little bit is to have an American at the top level again. I think since Nicky, obviously we haven't had somebody that's come in at that level and succeeded at that level, and it's a mission from MotoAmerica in general. Across the board, everybody I know within the organization was very dedicated to see that through from the inception of MotoAmerica as an organization over 10 years ago. And this is just a way to try and help make that possible. The Talent Cup is a tool to help show the skill and develop the skill that's already sort of built up to that level. The Talent Cup was not set out to be a beginner's class. I know it's the lowest level of racing in MotoAmerica, but it is professional racing. And so the goal is to take our young professionals, build them up, and then give them opportunities in Europe through Dorna's Road to MotoGP program. I don't have all the details on it because I defer those things to MotoAmerica. But we saw last year, obviously, we had our riders that went over there for that. Unfortunately, they didn't get picked for Red Bull Rookies, but they did well. I had conversations with some of the people within Red Bull Rookies after the tryouts, and it's just stiff competition. We had a lot of riders that showed up there and did very, very well. But those kids are the best of the best in the world. So that just means we got to try harder again next year. So I think that's how we look at it. That's how MotoAmerica looks at it. And that's how I hope the teams are looking at it to a certain extent, is that not that everybody needs to be there or that Road to MotoGP program is for everyone. It's just part of it. And we want to make sure that we keep swinging for the fences, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So is it the first 3 kids in Talent Cup get to go to Red Bull?
Last year, this is where I probably defer to MotoAmerica just to verify, but last year was 5 riders were chosen. It wasn't points based. It was partially points based and partially performance based. There is a discretionary decision that was made. Nothing I had anything to do with one way or another on that. But there was a review of lap times and a review of overall performance, and that is what picked which riders win. So,
yeah, I was happy to see we had some Americans out there, right? And I'm with you. We definitely need more Americans over there, whether it's BSB, World Superbike, wherever we do ESBK, all of it. We need them in all ASBK everywhere.
It starts at the ground level. So, and that's where we're slotting in is, it starts at, like I said, the lowest level of the professional paddock. And we want to stress it's still the professional paddock. We want to bring our best that we can bring. Of course, I don't want to deter anybody from trying. Obviously, like if you think you got the gumption, you got the ability, let's get you out there. But our goal is to find that talent and build that talent up and get them moved on. And I think we saw the success of that a little bit from last year already, seeing the, grand first round, whatever, to be fair, but seeing how well Sam Drain, Bodie Page, and Hank Vosberg did at Daytona right out of the gates. Very talented riders in their own right. I'm not going to say it was a Talent Cup that did it, but it's great to see those guys go from Talent Cup now to another another class and do well. So,
really absolutely. I'm gonna get to a couple of these comments. We got Daniel Shoemake. What's up, man? He says, "Yo, excited for this one, right? It's an honor to sit down with Joe." Then we got Richard Stroken. What's going on, man? He says, "Oh, wicked cool bikes. I can never afford one," with a laughing emoji, right?
There's always used ones out there. We're here to help whoever. I just talked to a guy with 2016 model year this year, so don't think you can't.
That's right, Richard. Absolutely. And then we got Daniel Getty. Says the GP2 is one of my dream bikes.
I think that's a universal feeling even in the office here. So,
and then we got C.A. Smithers. Welcome to the podcast, man. He says, "Oh, nice. Hi, guys. What's happening, my man?" And then we got Kevin Rodeo. He says, "So just out of curiosity, why are you trying to design the bike to transition to twins? And then next gen, when the marketing tells families it's the road to MotoGP?"
I guess I didn't 100% follow the question or there, but the road to MotoGP for us is part of the program. We know not everyone who comes into this paddock is going to be going to Moto2 or Moto3 or MotoGP for that sake. Our goal is to build up the knowledge about the sport, about the different aspects of motorcycle racing, and also the different aspects of the motorcycle itself, to help build up a better rider. Again, part of the reason why we're involved is that we're involved. I'm not saying I'm any gift to anything, but my one thing I can offer is that I'm going to show up and try to build up riders in any way that we can. And bring in our technical partners that we have involved in this program to help build up the teams in general. And one of the things I saw last year, Carson King, who rode in the 200 on a next gen, I think it was a Suzuki, if I remember correctly. He was on Talent Cup last year, and for them, data acquisition was a new thing. Data was just something that they hadn't really dealt with yet. And that's fine. It's understandable. Totally understandable. And to getting to work with them on helping to understand data acquisition and integration with the Mechatronic sides of things. Actually, Carson's uncle was there helping out and really got into the data side a ton, and really saw him kind of grow on his curiosity level and working with him. I remember vividly at VIR one night sitting there, eating off the grill with those guys, going through data, and it wasn't even anything performance-based about the bike or performance on track. It was just talking about the data sides of the thing and understanding some of it and building on that. So it's multifaceted, and there's nothing's perfect. I'll be the first to say, like, I will take any shot somebody wants to shoot. But what I will say is that we're going to keep trying harder and keep trying to show up to make sure that we grow the class and grow the sport. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I apologize if you want to comment more. Feel free.
Yeah. Kevin said that he says, "I'm not degrading the program. I think it's great. I just believe the term Road to MotoGP is unnecessary."
That's fair. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think it's I think it's putting a lot of weight on it that maybe isn't fair. I think what it is, and maybe it's not as good. It's not as good as marketing. Let's be honest here. The road to MotoGP is a good terminology, but it's the opportunity for the next stepping stone. If we are trying to be a better cog in the machine to help move riders up within MotoAmerica and up within road racing in general around the world, whether that's road to MotoGP with Red Bull rookies and the MotoGP Dorna family, or if it's MotoAmerica, or even if BSB or IDM or whatever. We as Kramer have been involved with BSB in the past, and If there's a way I can help one of our riders that wants to be in BSB get over there, then I'm going to pull the strings that I have at my disposal to do so.
What about the TT?
You know what? That is a terrifying race, but yeah, you know what? If somebody wants to do it and their skill is there for it, I will be all for it. One of my good friends, Rennie Skatesbrook with Cycle News, has done the TT, and him and I have had long chats about it. And I think he said it. Once you do it, you got to keep going back, and I can believe it. Every time I see it and I think about it, I don't know, man. That is the one race that kind of makes just kind of I don't know. I like my run out room.
You should not you, but dude, Kramer should be there, man, for sure.
Yeah. We've done the Manx, so we've done the classic TT Manx. We haven't done the TT because we don't have a bike. This is one of those weird problems we run into as a race motorcycle manufacturer, is that our bikes don't qualify under your general super sport or super bike categories. So we are often alienated from racing our race motorcycles at motorcycle races. The TT is one of those where we don't have a street bike, so we can't race TT. We have ran the Manx with our Evo too, and it's done well. We've had Sean Anderson, who's ran the TT successfully on a Suzuki Big 1000 before. I've done quite well on it, and we didn't put a big effort into it. It was more like, hey, let's see how this goes. I don't remember our mile per hour one was like 117 or something like that. I don't know, 116, which isn't anything stellar, but it's a 75 horsepower single on the 690. So like, can we go faster with that platform? I think so, but we haven't put that effort in. It is a hard thing to do. That is a whole other animal. So maybe someday, but that one's kind of falling down the list. So yeah.
So we got RJ Garlic. He says, sad to say this is a dying grid with this, totally unaffordable to most, starting out 30 grand plus just to show up is not how you get people started. I'm sure, I've heard the same thing,
Yeah. I think the rebuttal I have to that is there is used bikes out there right now. I know there's bikes out there between 20 and 25,000, which I understand, not a big difference from 30, to be fair. But that's with spares, that's with some stuff with them. I think the unfortunate reality of racing at this level is that it is expensive. We're fighting the same challenges that the teams are right now when it comes to expenses. The bike is unfortunately a very small percentage of the cost to actually go race. It is a big single ticket item, but I just looked at our fuel costs from last year because like everyone, we're kind of paying attention to the fuel prices right now. And so I was running through quick to see like how much is this going to make a difference, and pulled it up, and I spent 16,000 some change on diesel last year personally. So like not including flights, not including hotels, not including food, any of those things. Like it's easy to say that we probably spent, I don't know, I'd have to add it all up, even though I probably don't want to. Probably $30,000 to $40,000 on travel last year. Once you actually get into it and really start counting all your pennies, and I think people often gloss over that and think, we just get to the track, it'll be fine. It's like, well, it has its own costs. So I don't disagree that the cost of the bike is still higher than I would like. I would love that I could go out and sell them to everybody for $10,000, but unfortunately the world doesn't work that way. And this is an expensive sport, but I do have to highlight the point of this again, is that this is the lowest level of professional racing, but it is the goal of being professional racing. The grid right now, I think for COTA is going to be around 14 riders, which is on par with last year. It's getting close at least. And so we see growth still happening. I see later in the season we'll see some growth. Like I said, we're doing everything we can to help out with the price. The original 22.5. If I can get back to 22.5, take tariffs away, we're back to 22.5. That's the reality. So that's how we get there. And is 22.5 cheap? No, but we're adding a lot of value for 22.5. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the electronics package alone,
Yeah.
that's a big cost. We got our good friend Kyle Onsor. What is up, man? He says Joe is one of the hardest working guys in our sport here in the States. I'm grateful to call him a friend and have him trying his best to grow our sport in the States. We need more people like him to help get the sport popular again over here.
Well, thank you, Kyle. I was just talking with Kyle the other day here, and no, he's one of the good guys for sure in the sport. He's a motorcycle nerd, is about as nerdy as you get. So one of the few guys that can walk out of his bedroom into his side of his spare room in his house to a suspension dyno. So he's in it as deep as you get into it.
Yeah.
But no, Kyle's great, and I appreciate it. That's for sure. Yeah, I think you nailed it. Though our goal is to try and continue to grow the sport. The fact that we're a motorcycle brand and we sell motorcycles obviously is part of it. But I don't care what you ride. At the end of the day, I just want to see people out there doing the thing.
Yeah. What in your opinion, what do you think the sport needs to help it bring more money into it?
I mean, I would say it's $1 million question, but I think it's more than $1 million question. I've been a huge proponent of raising the question of like, how do we get outside industry money into the sport? We're kind of the snake eating its own tail all the time in this industry. Coming up from being a dirt bike kid, the first person you ask for a sponsor is the local motorcycle shop. I mean, we get it here all the time. And I'm always for it. If I can do something, we're going to do it. But I don't have, the NASCAR sponsorship money. And that's the thing is like, how do we get the NASCAR sponsors into road racing? We see it a bit in Supercross. Supercross has figured it out. Those guys, they got it figured out. But how do we get those sponsors transferred over into the road race side? It's tough. I don't know. I'm grateful to see the people who are involved and the companies who are involved. I give a huge props to Mission Foods for being an absolute stellar sponsor for road racing and the motorcycle industry in general, between AFT and everything else they're involved with power sports. We just need, like another 5 or 10, Mission Foods level companies and organizations to come into the sport. And so if there's anybody out there listening that has a marketing budget, they're looking at putting money somewhere, call up the guys at MotoAmerica, call up your local, MotoAmerica team or whoever and cast a line, because we really do need it. We have a lot of support, and I don't diminish anything that's coming into the industry, and we're all grateful for it. But more is better, and I would love to see the marketing dollars coming in, which helps drive fans in. There's a little bit of that where you get companies to come in and you give those companies free tickets to give out to their staff. Those staff members show up to those races and they bring family, they bring friends, and there is a real cascade effect to that. So I don't have the answer to that question, but I definitely am going to keep pushing that at any opportunity I get, because I know that there's a lot of money left on the table when it comes to sponsor dollars for this industry.
No, I agree. We need outside sponsorships back in like we used to have,
Yeah.
like Gatorade, Pepsi,
Yeah.
right? Bring cigarettes and alcohol back, right? Now the big
at the end of the day, like, keep the lights on. Yeah. Like, and I said this with the Town Cup, where like we have, young adults potentially, but kids, for lack of a better term, racing motorcycles. Like, we need some candy companies. We need PlayStation. We need Xbox. Like, who in marketing at those companies is listening? Like, let's get some Mars. Like, I want an M&M's livery on an Apex so badly. Like, make that thing look all polka dot and M&M's. I'm all for it. Like, come on. And so like that's the kind of stuff that I really want to see in Talent Cup and the kids are racing. Obviously, there's other kids out there watching. So like, not to be all commercial and marketing focused, but I see it moving the needle. I really do. So
yeah, for sure. Anthony, what's going on? Anthony, he says, where's the Fortnite library? Ha ha ha.
100%, man. Like, right? Yeah, give me some Minecraft or whatever. I don't know what the youth are doing these days, but
Apex. That's my son's on Apex, and I'm on Ride 5, but he's Apex and man, Rainbow Six Siege.
That's
what
go.
right now. So, and
Yeah,
then
man. Like,
yeah, it'd be awesome to have. Anthony also says, I agree with Kyle. Joe helped with a suspension issue I had at Mid Ohio on my KTM. He and the crew went above and beyond to save my weekend. Perfect example of what it's all about. Absolutely.
oh, awesome. I remember that deal. The 890 Duke. Remember that. Four
Yeah.
seals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it chew a zip tie. I think it ate a zip tie in the fork seal, if I remember right. So it was Mid Ohio after AMA Vintage was there. So it was actually a super cool event. So no, I'm glad. Again, if we can be a help anywhere we can be, we're always going to try to. So we sometimes get a little spread thin, but that's where we're always trying to keep the staff up and keep the help rolling. So.
Absolutely. I want to take it back real quick to the beginning and talk a little bit about the difficulties of making that deadline for the first bikes to be out there for the MotoAmerica grid. Because we had that conversation, you know, on our video chat. So it's something, it's a great conversation piece.
Yeah. We started development on the bike. Like I said, it was a very rapid development from the initial design as a 450 and shifting into the 350 platform and redesigning the bike. Because when you change something, you know, to change one thing, everything changes. And it all kind of, it's a single cylinder. It all kind of glues together fairly close. So it isn't too bad, but we ended up kind of rapidly growing the development and all that stuff pretty quickly. But it ended up being a situation where you don't know what you don't know. And so we got out there and did testing, and everything went well. The bikes were working really well in testing over the rapid development period. And then we got to production, and unfortunately at the time, production was hampered by KTM. KTM was right in the midst of the start of their restructuring when we were doing production. And that was kind of the first big hiccup we ran into on actually getting the bikes built. It was December, and mind you, this race, obviously the season started at MotoGP at Coda at the end of March, like coming up here in a few weeks. And we were still waiting on drivetrains from KTM, and this in Germany. And so we're like panic mode at this point. Finally, KTM comes through. We're like, awesome, let's go, let's move. And so we did. We were moving along. Everything was fine. I actually myself flew to Germany and spent about a week there personally helping do assembly. So I did, you name it. I was pressing steering head bearings on the steering stems, like whatever it took, you know. So we ended up getting the first 11 motorcycles done that were allocated for the US market. I personally helped box them up at the factory. I then hopped back on a plane, flew back to Fargo, went and grabbed a box truck, drove to Minneapolis to the airport to pick up said motorcycles at the airport because we air freighted them over, brought them back to Fargo, unloaded them, set them up, and then handed those motorcycles over to our staff here to hop into our personal or our business vans here. We have a couple Ford Transit box vans, loaded them up in those things and sent some to California, some to, I don't remember, wherever they went to that first batch. And then quickly spun around. The other 12 bikes came rolling in after that, drove back to Minneapolis, grabbed those ones, came back here, did the same thing. I personally jumped in one of the vans along with one of our other staff members. I think he went Florida. No, I went Florida. He went Oregon, I think, at that point, or something like that. I went down to Birmingham, dropped off Cody Kopp's bikes at the Barber Museum, went over to Florida, dropped off bikes for two teams there, spin around and went back to Ohio, dropped a bike there, and went back home. And so it was really a nonstop 24/7 thrash leading up to the delivery. Absolute Herculean lift for everybody involved. I can't give enough thanks and props and kudos to everybody involved in that process, because by that point we were delayed so much by engine delivery and drivetrain delivery that we didn't have a choice but to just try and move mountains. So we did. Where it got a little spicy and where our job suddenly got hard again is the engines that were spec'd are the KTM 350 EXC-F, which is the street legal variant of the 350. It's fitted with a slightly heavier crank, higher output charging system, and a little bit milder cams and stainless steel valves. And initially, we had 2 bikes right out of the gate that they were in preseason testing before Crescent test that had engine failures, and they were catastrophic. I mean, total floating. And of course, we're like, what the heck? Because nothing made sense. Everything else in testing went totally fine. And so we determined that we rapidly went back into testing in Germany, and we determined that we could get the exhaust valves to touch the pistons under aggressive downshifts, massively over revving it, to be fair, but still we could make it happen. And so we were like, we didn't know what to do, to be honest. We didn't know what the real problem was because it didn't make sense as nothing changed. So we went ahead and made the decision to swap every single one of the engines on the grid to titanium valves because we don't know why these are floating valves. It didn't float valve in testing, but we don't have time to figure it out. So we worked with KTM North America and Del West, the valve manufacturer, to get valves in our hands and then get them in the bikes. And we worked with teams. We worked with KTM to help get some of the valves installed remotely. And then at the Crescent test before COTA last year, we actually drove there a day early and we replaced valves in all of the engines that were there, which was 8 teams, to get the valves updated to the titanium valves. In the end, it wasn't actually a valve problem. Come to find out, and we noticed this upon disassembly, that the assembly lube that they had used was solidifying under high temperature. And so when you take the valves out, they were like sticky. They were like glued in place. And so at higher RPM, they would actually hang the valves due to them seizing in the valve guides from the assembly lube. Never in a million years would have guessed that one. And so these are the things that you find out sometimes in production. And we see OEMs have these issues all the time. You build a bunch of something, and all it takes is that one little step to go wrong. And that's what happened to us, is we got caught out with that. So the titanium valves fixed the problem, but they didn't fix the problem because the valves weren't the problem. But we did replace every single one of the valves and all the engines before the race start at COTA. Again, huge props to our team, both in Germany, here in the US. Huge props to KTM North America for being involved in the process and helping facilitate some of the installations and also facilitating some of the parts. Specifically Chris Fillmore, KTM North America, a name that many are familiar with. Huge props to him. He really did move mountains. He took some flack from some of our customers even for it. And so I thank him for being the punching bag even at times. So it was a Herculean effort. I'll be honest. It's one of those things that I will, it'll be a nightmare and a cherished memory at the same moment for the rest of my life. I'm glad we did it. If it could have gone wrong, it did, but it was all in the littlest ways that, these are the type of things that you don't expect no matter what. And we could have spent another 2 years on the bike and we still could have had that same assembly loop get used on the valves and have the same problem. So it was just a weird situation. So that's the chaos of it. I think the highlight of it a little bit is, we were able to do a lot of cool things with the bike. In development, we were able to test a lot of things. And the bike we started with on paper and the bike we ended with are 2 very different machines. And with that, we're still pushing for further development. We're actually going to be releasing some update parts at round 1 at COTA. So there's some new updates for like crankcase ventilation system that we're improving the design on. We're updating some of the rear brake system stuff to help with rear brake disc durability. And then the other thing is repositioning the vehicle speed sensor to help with rear wheel speed resolution. Just things that you just tested fine, but we can make it better. And so those are going to be all free to existing customers. If you own a bike, you're going to get all these updates for free. And those will be delivered between round 1 and round 2. So
that's awesome, man. So what's the future of Kramer and also what's the future of Kramer with MotoAmerica? Because you guys got a 3-year program, right? 3-year deal right now.
Yeah.
Going on the 2nd year.
Yep. So year 2. So we're not quite to the halfway point, halfway the season, I guess, halfway point for the contract. But we're discussing, what's the future hold from the Talent Cup. I'll start with that point. Obviously, our goal is to be involved with this long term, and our dedication to it is long term. We're discussing right now on how we can improve the program and how we as Kramer Motorcycles can be a help in any improvements. What that means, I don't know yet. We're still discussing. I don't want to make anything seem like there's anything changing or anything shifting, but we want to make it more approachable for teams. We know the barrier of entry is not just buying the motorcycle, but all of the other stuff. So some of the other Talent Cups do have fly and ride programs and things like that, and we're looking hard at those ideas. Unfortunately, that does go back to like, hey, we need some outside the industry sponsors to come in. We need the Red Bull Rookies Cup. We need the Red Bull for the Rookies Cup. So we're working towards that. I don't want to make it sound like I'm letting some big cat out of the bag on that we have something in our back pocket that we can just pull a lever on and make happen. But I want people to understand that we're working on trying to tackle the affordability and the cost aspect of doing this sport beyond the motorcycle. And so that's part of it. So we'll see what the future holds. I'm going to think more short term and saying looking into the season. Obviously, we're going to bring forth some updates for the teams. There's a lot of new riders actually this year. There was a lot of turn. A lot of the riders were aged out or nearly aging out, so there's some that moved on because of that, and some of them had other opportunities come up, and they're doing great, and I'm super excited for them. But we have some returning faces too, though. So I think we're going to have a very exciting grid of riders this year, and some very dynamic riders when it comes to experience. There's some newer, more novice riders that have plenty of club level, but this will be their first foray into MotoAmerica. And then we have a couple riders that are coming here and racing that have already raced abroad at a professional level. So I think we're going to see a really cool thing there. So yeah, I mean, time will tell. We're still steadfast as a brand towards the Talent Cup, so we'll see on that. But as for MotoAmerica in general, for us as a company, my hope is that we can be further involved with MotoAmerica in the future beyond Talent Cup. I'm not saying like another spec class. I'm just saying like, hey, like we're here. What else? What other class can we go play in? Of course, we have our GP2 family of bikes, and we also have our Evo 2 family of bikes. And both of those, there's arguments that I could make, but it's my opinion that they could slot in pretty nicely in a few of those categories. So we'll see what the future holds. Those are things that aren't up to me. But I'm going to be a squeaky wheel because I would love to go and play in those spaces and show what else we can do as a company and as a brand. But as for Kramer, we're, we're always moving forward. We've got a lot of things going on right now in the background when it comes to trying to work on developing some updates to some of our existing platform of bikes. So that's something we're working on, both in our Evo 2 and our GP2 family of motorcycles. But then one of the things that we also have been pushing on a bit is, I don't know what the right term to use for it is, but basically aftermarket accessories for other street bikes. So using the KTM family of motorcycles primarily. The one that is most commonly known now a little bit is the 1290 and 1390 kit. None of those have hit stateside yet. They are coming. We've been a little slow to get those to market, but in the United States at least, we have some that have been delivered in Europe now. And so that's a project we're still working on developing. It's a cool thing. It's a 1290 or 1390 Super Duke turned into a road race bike. That's the simplest way to put it, and it does wheelies, and it's super rowdy. Is it going to be the next Panigale V4R? No. We're never going to claim that it's going to be that. You want a wicked track day bike, and that's just laughing silliness everywhere you go. That bike does it. It's just freight train go. It's so entertaining. And so that bike just puts a smile on your face. It's just invigorating. But it does it in a way that's just so much more visceral, I would say is the right word, than some of your existing 1000cc plus category bikes. So So that's something we're working on. Again, that's not going to be the next super bike category of bike, but it's a good all around good machine. But we do have some other stuff we're working on for some of the newer KTM products. I can't say as what yet at this point. We have a few different projects right now, but obviously KTM has rolled out with a few new motorcycles the last year or so, and we have our involvements on some of that stuff. So we'll see what comes to market here in the coming months on that, but there'll be something that'll come to market here to fit into some of that new category. So new bike stuff for sure, and some new updates to some of the existing families. So I'll say new motorcycles, if you will. It's definitely more than bold new graphics. We'll put it that way. So
I love it, man. Your future is bright, man. I'm happy for you. I really am.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You know, and I told you this on our pre-video chat, man. Whatever visions and goals you have in this sport and in life too, as well, man. I hope you achieve them 10 times over, 110%.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the support.
We need more people, manufacturers, so to speak, to come into the sport too to help it grow. Right, all growth. We need it all, from the bottom to the top. We need it all. Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, listen, I like to transition to the second part of the podcast where we get to know Joe away from all this motorcycle stuff.
I mean, that list is a lot shorter. That's going to be your 5 minutes. That was
So, first question, man, is what's in your stable now? What are your current bikes you currently own and ride?
Wow, you're gonna probably be floored by some of these ones. I've got a weird eclectic. Here's the thing: I've been in the industry so long that motorcycles are a little bit of like I don't want to say they're disposable, but I can always get another one. Like they're kind of playing cards for me a little bit. Obviously, being a motorcycle dealer, they're always an asset. I can be like, oh, I'm done with that one. Give me a different one. You know, we'll sell this. I don't need this one anymore. We'll buy a different one. Not saying I got a bunch of bikes, just they're not necessarily all sacred. But what I do have that doesn't leave, which is this is the weird ones, is the first one that's the most eclectic is probably I have a 2000 model year Excelsior Henderson Super X Deadwood Special. Nice. About as far away from an Apex as you get. Still has 2 wheels. I have one of those. That is I think if you can say like, how did motorcycles affect me? That bike kind of embodies it in a weird way, because when I was young, my dad was your typical kind of Harley guy. Obviously he was into dirt bikes and things like that, but you know, your typical American Midwestern, got his Harley Ultra Classic or Tour Glide, you know, kind of guy. And so at a very young age, I think 8 years old, the first time I rode on the back of his bike to Sturgis for the motorcycle rally. And one of the early years when I was there, they had launched the Excelsior Henderson company again. And, you know, this sub 10-year-old kid seeing this wacky motorcycle with this crazy front end and all this stuff, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And so that just stuck. And a handful of years ago, I think it was like 2018 or so, I was watching the Mecum auction and I saw there was a bunch of them. There was some guy was selling. And there was one that was late on Sunday that was coming up. And I'm like, I'm just going to throw a bid at this and see. And ended up getting it. I don't know. It's a very beautiful shape. It's like brand new. The thing's only got like 2,000 miles on it. I ride it to the local bike night, and that's about it. But it scratches that itch. It's that little childhood, like, I got the toy I thought was cool when I was 8 type situation. So I have one of those. And then another one that doesn't leave is I got a 1984 Honda CB 700 SC. So your Nighthawk S. That one is another sentimental, not that bike, but when I started in the motorcycle industry, when I was, I think, 14 years old, I was working as a lot tech, essentially, at a local motorcycle shop. And the first bike I got to actually work on at like 14 years old was one of those bikes. And so one came to the shop here a few years ago and I saw it. I'm like, what's the deal with this thing? Like, it was really mint, really nice. And customers like, I just want to get it running to sell it. I'm like, can I just buy it? Like, I'm just going to buy this thing. So not a lot of money, like $500 I bought this thing. It needed some TLC, but it's a very clean example. So I got one of those, again, kind of checking that box on like nostalgia. And then it's a bit of a revolving door and everything else. Always usually have like 1 or 2 dirt bikes around. Right now, Beta is primarily what we got in the stable for dirt bikes. And then I do actually also have one that doesn't go away. I forget about this bike, is a KTM 990 Adventure. But it's a friend of mine built this bike. I can't take credit for it, but Mike Vian from Championship Cycles in Glendale, California built. He's known for high end like Ducatis primarily, but he built this 990 Adventure into essentially a giant dirt bike. So he took the Adventure, took all the bodywork off it, stuck the 990 Supermoto bodywork on it, but left the tall suspension knobs and all that stuff. So it's this big, all blacked out thing that's like a 38-inch seat height. That's absolutely silly. And it's just the most ridiculous thing you can imagine for a motorcycle. So I have that. So like I said, very eclectic, gets really weird real fast on the motorcycle stable for me, but it keeps it entertaining. I think I have to be a little quirky when it comes to the what I hang on to, because they're a little bit of like I said, playing cards for me, where like, oh, I just get a different one. It's fine. Those ones stick around. So yeah, those are the key ones right now, but there's always something, put it that way.
It always is when it comes to two wheels, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm like you, man. I'm like, dude, it's replaceable, right? I'll just keep it for a little while and sell it. That's why I own so many motorcycles. I keep them literally for a summer, maybe a half a summer, and be like, okay, I have my fun. I'm done. I'll move on. Yeah, it's
right. Yeah, I have the joy of being in the motorcycle industry, obviously, and getting to experience, like, test rides kind of ruin you on being excited about things, because like you meet your superhero sometimes as a bike and you're riding, like, oh, that wasn't that great. Kind of lame. So like it's the eclectic ones that stick around because of that, because I can always come across another, street bike or touring bike or even enduro or dual purpose. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That bike for me is the RC51. I have one, so yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, I have one sitting like on the floor, like 20 feet away from me right now, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Love it, dude. What a beautiful machine. Well, let me ask you this: tell us something we don't know about you at all.
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't get very far away from the motorcycle industry. It's like 1 degree of separation.
Used to play the drums as a kid. Like,
no,
wanted to be a rock star.
I grew up like on a dirt bike, and then like the biggest deviation is like I went from like motorcycle stuff to welding and machining, so I got experience in that realm. But that's kind of goes in the same realm, but in the manufacturing side at least. But no, I mean, pretty avid bicyclist, cyclist, pretty big for me. I guess this is less exciting thing. I used to ride a bicycle quite a bit more, but about 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, adult onset type 1 diabetes is a genetic thing. So that's kind of shifted my lifestyle in the last handful of years, unfortunately. I still get on the bicycle some, but that's less than it used to be, just managing that side of things. But that's probably the most hobby that I have, because I have the unfortunate reality of, well, I don't unfortunate that where I'm sitting now is like a 30-second walk from the back door of my house. Like my house is off of a commercial area. And so I Sunday at 9 p.m. I can come to work, and it is not an inconvenience. And so I don't have much of a social life. I do have a wife, no kids. We have 2 cats. That's about as exciting as that gets. Used to have a dog, unfortunately passed, but that's not a lot. My wife, she is actually a huge help though. She's probably the biggest. Well, you know how it is. Your wife kind of does everything at a certain point, and she carries the team. And she's the graphic designer, the smart one in the group. She's the one with an eye for style. It's definitely not me. And so,
and the cook.
Yeah. 100%. Like, no,
most important part, the cook.
Yeah. She beats me on almost every front except for motorcycle stuff. So she's a huge asset to not only me day to day, but also the company. She has to do all the company stuff too that she helps out with, but she also has a real job. I often say, like, I don't have a real job. She does. She's a architecture professor at the local university, NDSU. So she has a real big girl job. Yeah, proper big girl job. And so she does a great job on that side. And But she does still help with the Talent Cup and with everything. Last year, she came to a couple of the rounds. I think she's planning on being at probably 2 or 3 of the rounds this year, helping out too. So you might get a chance to meet her. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no like big crazy secret. I don't got any like crazy weird hobbies or anything. It really is mostly almost like it's like 98% motorcycle. It really is.
No hidden talents, man.
No, like no. It's mostly working on motorcycles. Like around here, like when something can't be done, it's usually they always jokingly say like guys in the shop, we like, oh, I can't get this part or won't come apart or whatever. Call Joe so he can be the one to break it. And then I'll be over there like, what are you guys doing? Like just this. And then it's like, here you go, it's done. And then, yeah, that's my only magic, I guess, is pretty good at spinning bolts.
I love it. Kyle has one. Kyle says he's too humble to mention his Papio 125 track record. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, the Apex development was an interesting time. Kyle actually helped with Apex development. He did a lot of test riding for us on the 350, and we rented a little Tally. It's actually kind of a funny story. We rented a little Tally for 3 days in total, technically, and that's a cool thing to do. Like if you have the ability to do that, like it's kind of cool just to rent a track. Like I don't care who you are. I'm not bragging about that. It's actually not that expensive. So like if you're thinking about it, like hit them up. Like private track day. I don't know what their rules are, but it's not that expensive to rent a whole racetrack. Not the fanciest racetrack, but it's actually kind of fun. All the grip in the world. The asphalt is horrendously grippy, almost not good, but it is still cool to have a whole track yourself. So we had brought along the Apex and development and stuff for that, and we were primarily focused on that. But we had a couple street bikes along. One of them being a Papio 125, and another one was a 690 Duke, just a plain Jane 690 Duke. And we were, in between that, ripping around and whatnot. And Kyle and his wife were actually there, along with some of our staff, and we since we had open track and we can do whatever we want. I mean, a prison track, you can just ride along and stop. You can look at the bike. You can do whatever you want. It's amazing. And so we were like, well, while we're working on the bike, people get bored, so they just get on whatever is there and just go ride laps, just to pass times while we were doing testing on the bike. And so we had a Papio that was going for track records, and so we were playing little shootout games with it. But the best one was actually Kyle Onsorg and Ross, one of our technicians that was here. Those two guys got on the bike on a 690 Duke 2-up and went for hot laps 2-up on a 690 Duke at Tally. I feel like it kind of deviated on the edge of probably what the insurance was probably cool with at the time, but it was good. They were ripping that thing, and finally they got a little excited going counterclockwise. Would have been turn 2. They actually rode off turn 2 up on that thing. So yeah, again, we have fun with it. Like I think anybody who's in the motorcycle industry, you really do live, eat, breathe, and sleep it. And that handful of days at Little Tally is a good example of that, where like so many of the people around me and my friends, if you will, both through colleagues and through just friends and acquaintances, this is what we do. Like we're motorcycle people, and if you're given an option to go 2-up on a Duke on an empty racetrack, you're going to say yes, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why would you not?
Put me in, coach. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't hear a lot of people saying no to that. So it's exactly it.
I love it. Daniel wants to know what's the time.
What's the time?
The time the track record of
God, I can't remember.
Kyle, do you remember the time?
I did not have the fastest time. I think Kyle's being rather generous there. I think the most impressive ride, actually, in hindsight, this maybe not in the moment, is his wife Lindsay at the time was out there and just riding around on the Papio, having fun. She wasn't going that quick, but she's never really been on a racetrack before. And come to find out, she didn't know this time, she was actually pregnant with Kyle's first son at the time. So there she is. She was riding 2-up also. She just didn't know yet. So yeah, like I said, very cool opportunity. And I would love as a side thing to be able to just rent that little racetrack every so often and go down there and screw around all by myself or with my friends. Because I think that if people have the means, they definitely should do it. It's worth it.
110%, man. On that note, what's your worst habit?
Probably working. If you're gonna ask like my family, my wife and I are a bit of workaholics. We really are. It is a blessing and a curse. You can be very productive when you zoom out, but when you zoom out, something is like, wow, I don't get very far from this. So that's probably my worst habit, which is that is a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, if you will, though. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's probably not always the best thing. So yeah, that's probably the worst.
I love it. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh, well, yeah. Oh God, like probably an unhealthy amount. Yeah,
Sound like my
caffeine.
wife.
Yeah, like it's like at the ready usually. Like it gets constant. No, for sure. Yeah, gotta have the caffeine. That's a must.
All right, so me and you, we're going out to the bar. We're gonna have a drink. What's our go-to karaoke song?
Oh God, I don't have one because nobody deserves to hear that. There's not enough alcohol in the world to make that sound good. I think I've probably done karaoke, excuse me, twice in my life, and I think the closest thing to that was, God, I don't remember the song. It was a rap song though. That it was a joking thing in a small party. That was kind of essentially, how do you turn a rap song into slam poetry? That's the closest thing I could ever be successful at singing, was doing that. So yeah, karaoke, not a strong point. But rap slam poetry, I can do medium okay at.
All right. I love that. I'll remember that for sure. When I show up at a karaoke machine in Atlanta, just prepare yourself.
Clear the paddock. We can help people get out on Sunday. I'll tell you what.
I love it, man. I love it. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm actually currently listening to The Art of Racing in the Rain, which is an amazing movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Do you listen to any audiobooks, or like I guess when you travel?
Yeah,
you're always on the road, or a podcast.
Yeah, a lot of it is. I am a bit of a nerd for any kind of historical stuff, so like I do listen to a lot of like whether it's podcasts, YouTube videos, things like that lean towards the historical sides of things. So I get a little, like, a good way to mentally pass time for me is turn on something that's early American historical, or your World War II, World War I historical kind of stuff. Like, I'm definitely a product of the original History Channel, when they used to be like World War II, World War I, like dry documentarian style History Channel. Like, I grew up on that as a kid. So for me now, listening to that kind of stuff is just kind of like this nice background, where I will listen to a 2-hour thing on like, World War II history, no problem. So, and it's not even so much that I'm obsessed with it. It's just, I think, a little bit of product of environment. It was just History Channel was on in our household for some reason and never got shut off. So yeah, that's probably my go-to, which is a little bit weird, I guess.
No, I mean, everybody's got their own thing, right? So it's good, man. That's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
Right? If we all like the same shit, we'd be boring, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
So 110%. So on that note, if you could travel back to any era of time, what time would you travel back to?
Whew. Oh man.
Joe's like, I wasn't prepared for none of this.
Yeah, no, like this, I got cream respect here for it if you want. That's a hard one. I actually would find it fascinating to have an opportunity to see not very early, but the earlier side of the automotive and motorcycle industry in person. So you're more your teens maybe era of stuff to the 20s, where like technology had moved on enough to understand it, but the edge of it wasn't there. So you're in the motorcycle world, you'd say it's like the board track era, if you will, type of things, or your early hill climb stuff. I think that era culturally, from like a mechanical standpoint, is fascinating to me. Just because it's where it starts to get a little bit more like present day in the technology. In the diversity of stuff that I've done, I've worked on a lot of early Harleys, so J models and things like that are stuff that I've dabbled in, and a little bit later, like VL and series stuff is stuff that I've done a lot with. And I totally would love to nerd on building like a VL into like a road race bike. I don't know why, but it'll never happen. But like I said, I really like that kind of really mechanical, sandcasted side of things. So so that part of history, it's very much modern, obviously, in the grand scheme of things. But I find it fascinating because it was that kind of start of the more modern side of the Industrial Revolution. So,
yeah, that would be interesting, right? To be right there
Yeah.
on that brink. Yeah, it'd be super cool. You'd probably learn stuff. You'd be like, why didn't I think of that, right?
Oh, dude, like I've set up magnetos on J models before, and I'm just like, it's so simple, but it's so complex, and like the accuracy, like paying attention to like the wear lobe of a points breaker and things like that is just like, we don't think about that when we're trying to play with our timing table and Medtronic. It's like I'm sitting here getting worried about like, oh, the points thickness is too much, so it changes the dwell too much, and like that's why I've got weak spark, and like, things like that are just, it's cool to see the mechanical side of it. So that's where I gravitate towards. And if I was in that time, I'd like beeline to the first like motorcycle place, I think. So yeah.
I love it. What's the one superpower you wish you had?
Teleportation, just full stop. Like just I want to be somewhere, I'm there. Like I would wake up and I would just like immediately teleport to Germany. I'd be there, I'd be working till like, I don't know, 5 o'clock their time, and I teleport back here and get back to work doing things here. Like I heartbeat, wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah, teleportation's my thing. That's what I always said. Yeah. At first, I was like Superman. I fly, right? Then I got thinking, I'm like, shit, I'd rather teleport. I could be in Phillip Island. I could be wherever, just sleep in my own bed every night, wake up and go to UK for an English breakfast, right? Or some proper 100%. Fish and chips and come home. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even, like that'd be the first thing I would choose for sure.
I love it, man. Listen, I got one more question for you, and then we're going to end this podcast. Listen, Joe, obviously MotoAmerica would take Talent Cup out of it. Okay. If you could be in another class in MotoAmerica, what's the current Kramer motorcycle you'd put in this class? And who are the two current riders that race in MotoAmerica you'd put on those bikes?
Oh, the rider question is an interesting one. There's kind of a little bit of an asterisk to it. I think and I'll kind of answer in two ways, unfortunately. The plug and play solution we have would be like next gen with our GP2 family of bikes. That would be like, hey, we have this already plugged in. We have Medtronic on already. We can do a rules ECU super easy, dash, all that stuff. I don't know that I actually want to play there though. So like there's that part of it. Like that's the one that makes sense. Other than I know it's not a street bike. People can yell at me right now. I'm used to it. It's a race bike. It's not belongs in the super sport class, whatever.
We can say the same thing about the super hooligans with Arch and right. So,
yep. And so there's actually kind of three answers to your question. So I'm sorry to drag that one out, but like I said, I'd love to be involved more. So with that, I've been trying to be. The one that we are homologated for, and this is letting the cat out of the bag a little bit because it's approved and it's actually on the approved list. So if somebody's seen it, like it's technically public option if you go in there and look for it. But you'll note that it says Kramer GP2 990X and underneath hooligans. So the GP2 990X is nobody's seen that bike before. It does exist. Just know the public hasn't seen it yet. We haven't let the cat out of the bag because that was a bike that was originally developed strictly for the U.S. market at this point. And it is a base of our GP2 family, but with the 990 drivetrain and single X. In our world, any nomenclature that is a single letter at the end is a mid tier. So whether it's an R versus an RR or whatnot. So mid tier means that we're going to have a base engine. So there's no engine modifications from factory, but it's also going to have like more base suspension, but still has forged wheels, still has closed chamber forks, things like that. So it's basically a low spec of our X family, which is flat bar GP2. And we do build the 890XX, which is a high tier, high output engine, high tier engine, carbon fiber bodywork, carbon fiber BST wheels, all that stuff, like checking all the boxes kind of thing. So we do have that bike that will be for public consumption eventually. We are slow walking that right now intentionally, unfortunately, with current trade negotiations and trade issues and tariffs and whatnot. We've had to kind of ramp our position on that bike. In the future, we are going to push to have those available for the 2027 season for teams. And we're hoping to give a price point in the future that's more competitive, hoping that things maybe change a little bit, because unfortunately, since tariffs are a percentage of the value, as the bike gets more expensive, those tariffs get worse too. So we have to just kind of wait and see there. But the one that actually answer your question, so I just wanted to clarify that, because if somebody's seen it, they're probably going to go, why didn't you talk about that? It's kind of because it's sort of public, sort of not. Honestly, Twins Cup. And that's going to be a little bit weird because we don't have a bike that actually fits in there very well, but we have been working on one. And so this is a variant of our GP2 family of motorcycles. As everybody knows, we have the Evo 2. It's our single. It's the bike I'm most proud of, actually, which is maybe a little, not to be abashed at any of the other ones. It's near and dear to my heart. That bike is, I've rode it personally a ton, and it is very near and dear to my heart. And I think there's a ton of Evo 2 customers and owners out there that will say the same thing, because that bike is such a rock solid machine. And so blisteringly quick for what its horsepower number is. But we've been looking at developing a GP2 bike that would slot performance-wise very well within the Twins Cup. And if we were able to race the Twins Cup with that bike, which is a big if, this is going to be like just jabbing right at our Midwestern guys. I would probably pull Kyle on Zorg near and dear, put him on there, because he's okay riding bikes. He does okay.
He's all right, right?
He's okay. He gets around.
America lets him in every weekend, right? So yeah, he's okay.
He's okay. He's all right. And then, it's not a hometown kid, but he feels like it, because I've seen him enough in Minnesota at Brainerd and whatnot, but got a soft spot for Hank Vosberg. That kid's an absolute legend when it comes to being able to be diverse. His diversity on motorcycles is amazing. He can go from riding an ice bike to riding a supermoto to riding a full road race bike, and he can do it all. So if I'm cherry picking off the top of my head, got to go with Midwestern kids, because it's probably the ice bike bias. We're all ice bike guys, so it's probably what it is. Let's be honest. But yeah, so that's the long answer to that question. Kind of 3 in 1 there. But maybe in the future, if the opportunity arises, I have said this to the powers that be within MotoAmerica, that we'd love to be involved in other classes. We feel like we could make it fair and make the performance index, controlled through ECU controls, whatever they would like to do. And I'm not saying this publicly to try and swam or anything like that, but these conversations have been had, and we'd love to be involved, because we're already there. Like, let's race some other motorcycles. Let's go.
Let's go. So, right. I'm with it, dude. I love it. Great answer, by the way. It wasn't long-winded. It's your personal answer, so I love it. Right. It's Jack Butry says, hope to see you at BIR this summer.
Yeah. That's our hometown track. So we whatever rounds don't conflict with the MotoAmerica schedule, will be at Brainerd with the Central Road Racing Association. That's our hometown, like I said, hometown track, hometown organization. And huge props to that club. They do a great job. Very well organized, very good people. Very, very Minnesota nice kind of folks. So if you ever in the Midwest and want to catch a race round with a good group of people, they're a solid choice.
Love it, man. I love it. Well, Joe, it's been an absolute honor to sit down and have this chat with you. We definitely got to have to sit down and do a part 2 to this in the future, 110%. Yeah. I'm gonna let you. I always let my friends in the podcast, right, with all the shout outs and all that stuff. So there's a couple things that I want to say, and you guys know what's coming. Listen, Joe, if it wasn't for you and everybody that comes on this podcast, I would not be sitting in this chair doing this. It's because you and everybody else that listens and with all the likes and subscribes is the reason why I'm sitting in this chair. So it's nothing but love to each and every single one of you, and I mean that from from the bottom of my heart. Big shout out to K-Tech Suspension, SFL Mini GP, Jersey, and in South Florida. That's where a lot of our future of our legends of our kids are coming out of, are those two leagues. And their program's absolutely amazing, Joe, because you could just register, show up, and they provide the bikes, the leathers, the boots, everything. Right.
Yeah.
So there's no excuses. Yes, none at all.
We need more of that. We need more little league programs.
110%. And I got two friends that make undersuits, the most amazing undersuits in the industry. You're not going to go wrong by ordering from either one of them. The first one is Mama Aliki from venomsport.com. The second one is my man Tate from 64 Degree Racing. I also have three friends in the industry that make graphic kits, right? Whether you want your helmet wrapped, your car wrapped, your dog wrapped, your wife wrapped, whatever the case may be, right? You're not going to go wrong by ordering from either one of them. The first one is Chris Gazelle from Dripping Wet Graphics, my buddy Reese Brody from REB Graphics, and the third is Gus Rodeo, the legend himself that races from GRG Designs. For all my friends out there in the UK and people that listen out there, you guys can go to theclothingkings.co.uk and get all your Pendergast merch over there. Like Joe says, man, it's expensive to, even if you buy stuff over the UK and have it shipped here, it's crazy expensive right now. So big shout out to RD Racing, Vet2 Track, TBEXUSA, Experience.org. And one last thing before I give the microphone over to Joe is, listen, people, stop ordering shit off of Walmart and Target. Keep it in the industry, right? This is how the people in the industry make their living. So when you go to a track, whether it's a track day org, MotoAmerica, whatever, buy it in the industry. Order it from people in the industry. It's very important to everybody in the industry. And I thank you for it. So absolutely. So Joe, man, it's been an honor. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can purchase a Kramer and all that good stuff in between.
For sure. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come on here and chat. And I definitely appreciate everything you're doing to help bring more light to road racing and to the industry in general. But yeah, check us out. I mean, your standard social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook primarily. Not the most active on social media. We do our best, but we're better at motorcycles than marketing. But we're on there. Jump over to KramerMotorcyclesUSA.com and check out our current lineup. And we also have our website for our parts that's linked to that. If you're ever curious what are our bikes built out of, we don't hide any of it, and it's top secret. You can go onto our website and page through the parts fiches and see what parts and pieces hold our bikes together. So feel free to jump over to that, take a peek at that. If you want to ask about a motorcycle, inquire about buying one, get one ordered, custom order. We also offer some custom exclusive programs. If you're looking at special order, you want custom frame, custom wheels, custom bodywork, whatever it might be. We also offer programs with that. So there's a lot of diversity that we can bring to the table. If somebody wants the, bright lime green frame with carbon bodywork, well, we can make it happen, no problem. So yeah, jump over to Kramer Motorcycles USA. Is a link there to our sales team or to our parts department, whichever one you're looking for. Let us know if we can make it happen for you.
Love it, man. So do you have any of these Kramers available, like on the showroom? People can actually come right now and buy?
We usually do. I'll give that disclaimer. Unfortunately, right now we don't. The powers that be are with everything in the world right now. We're kind of slow walking our inventory, but normally we usually do. Historically, we've usually had somewhere between 5 and 20 motorcycles on hand at any time. Right now, we're hovering around basically zero. We do have some used units. So those guys that say that, hey, this is too expensive, I'm not saying they're cheap, but we can get them less expensive. So I do have some bikes that are coming in. So if anybody is looking for a GP2, I know we have one of those used right now. And I know also we have some Evo 2s that are going to be coming in too, both base model or S model, which is our base, and an R model that's going to be coming here in the next coming months. So keep your eyes peeled on our website and our social medias, because those ones will be coming up used here soon. Opportunity for somebody to get into an Evo 2, especially a lot less expensive than a new one, especially right now with the current tariff pricing. So
I love it. One last question. When is a Kramer Little Grom coming out?
Dude, we have some internal project names that have already been allocated for that. So I can't say when or if, but like one of the fun things about a company of our size is like we get to kind of dream up a lot of things. Not saying they all make it to fruition, but we can dream up some pretty cool things. And so we're still playing. There maybe one day I would love a mini moto, a dedicated mini moto. I would love to go gunning in that space, but we're also still looking at other engine configurations too. For those two-stroke guys out there, I don't think we forgot about you. We've just been a little busy. So no cat out of the bag there, but like we haven't forgot about it.
So a 502 stroke in the future. Yes, let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, I won't say no. There's some technical partners in the industry that we've been paying attention to.
That's right. Suitor, we're coming for you.
Hey man.
I love it.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
I love it. Well, Joe, I'm gonna let you go. I won't take up any more time. It was an honor to sit down with you. I'll definitely see you at Road Atlanta. We'll definitely stay in touch. This episode will be out in about an hour or so. It'll be out Spotify or Heart. I'll send you the direct link. And
awesome.
Yeah, man. If you have any questions, ever want to chat, give me a shout, brother.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thanks again for your time.
Yep, I appreciate it, Joe. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Thanks, bro. You too.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.